Put the short guy up front. Hey, my name is Jimmy Otto. I am very proudly and honored to be the borough president of this great borough of Staten Island, and I have the wonderful responsibility of welcoming all of you today. It is great to see the governor, the mayor, the speaker, commissioner here on Staten Island on this beautiful day. My job right now is to introduce Councilmember Vin Ignizio, and let me say very briefly that from the moment the storm hit, the night of the storm, on our Facebook pages, on our cell phones, Vinny and I have lived every moment of it. Vinny convinced us to go down to New Orleans to speak to city and state officials about their Katrina experience, and we have been together every step of the way in this very trying, infuriating at times experience. And he is a driving force for the legislation that we are going to see the governor sign today. So it is my pleasure to introduce my best friend in government, Councilmember Vin Ignizio.
Now, as if it wasn't worse. I'm doing this thing. Hold on. Where's this standing up? Oh, you think I mean, come on now. Thank you. I mean, you got a 6'4", 6'2". I mean, come on. It's a big tent in this city for everybody. I just want to let us all know, thank you first for everybody for being here, and that we are in the presence of Senator Lanza. He will have a watchful eye over us today. It's his legislation in the Senate, and I wanted to say good morning to you all. What a great day this is. It's my pleasure to welcome Governor Cuomo and Mayor de Blasio, who are here so often and are such good friends. They've applied for a resident discount. They don't get one, but they applied. My great colleagues that are here, Speaker Melissa Mark-Viverito, Councilwoman Debbie Rose, whose district we're in, and my colleague Steve Matteo. Today's a great day. And why are we here? Well, several months ago, Senator Lanza and I were discussing the plight and the problem that was coming to certain Sandy folks. I dubbed it the Sandy tax. And that means the people, like my friend Richard White, who's here, MTA, who has 3 little kids, lives in Crescent Beach, 9, 12, and 16. Their modest bungalow was devastated by Sandy. They fixed it. And they ended up, in the end of the day, because of a quirk in the law that didn't account for this clearly, with a tax bill which is 30% higher, basically making their home unaffordable. So at a meeting that Borough President Otto had at Borough Hall with the mayor, I had raised this to him, and immediately Mayor de Blasio said, well, that can't stand. We can't have that occur. So his team went to work with my team, with Senator Lanza, with Assemblyman Silver and Assemblyman Cusick, done some great work on this as well, and said, we got to come up with a fix. The governor pledged his support and worked with us every step of the way and said that he would fast track it. And you know what? This is what real government is about. Everybody shed their labels. Everybody shed their philosophy for the day and said, we're going to get this done for all of us. And we did. And I'm really happy to be here providing over $4 million in tax relief for Sandy victims. So the Sandy tax is no more today. Less than an hour ago, we voted in the Finance Committee with my colleague, Chairwoman Ferraris. Where are you, Jalissa? Thank you, and thank you so much for shepherding this through your committee. So this is a group effort, an effort of everybody pitching in and making sure that the people who are victims of Sandy were not unwittingly victimized of a quirk in the law. So I'm really pleased to have that occur. The person who runs our house and has done a great job, we don't always agree, but you're not supposed to always agree. But she's a friend, and she's been a great speaker, and she's been a friend to Staten Island. And I'm privileged to introduce the great speaker of the city of New York, Melissa Mark-Viverito. Speaker, and remember, Andy's watching.
Guess I'll use the step as well. Good morning, buenos dias to everybody. It's a real pleasure to be here in Staten Island to partake in the great news that we're sharing today here with my colleagues. Debbie, it's nice to see you, and Jalissa. And Vinny, obviously, thank you so much for your effort, and the borough president as well. This has been an incredible, incredible journey. Over a year after the devastation of Superstorm Sandy, the long road to recovery for many impacted New Yorkers is far from over. As we look to build a more resilient city, many homeowners who faced severe damage to their properties are now shouldering the responsibility of repairing and rebuilding their homes in the wake of the storm. As a city, we must make every effort to facilitate recovery for homeowners, not only to rebuild, but to make necessary improvements that will withstand future weather emergencies. However, current tax structures disincentivize and discourage owners from even restoring a building to its prior condition before the storm, under the threat of increased property valuations that lead to higher inflated property taxes. The Council believes this is an unintended consequence of the way the property tax law was designed and goes against the interest of supporting repair and restoration of our communities hard hit by Sandy. This is exactly why the City Council will be passing legislation this afternoon to tackle this problem head-on. Our bill, sponsored by Staten Island's own Minority Leader Vincent Ignizio and Finance Committee Chair Julissa Ferreras, will provide property tax abatements to owners who rebuilt their homes after suffering heavy damage from Sandy. This abatement will provide an estimated $4 million in much-needed tax relief to 1,684 buildings. 1,458 of those buildings are 1 to 3 family homes who will see an estimated average abatement of $1,077 off their tax bill. The City Council has made it a priority to ensure that impacted New Yorkers get the support from government they need in the wake of Superstorm Sandy. In addition to holding comprehensive oversight hearings on storm response, we've also formed a committee chaired by Councilmember Mark Traeger on recovery and resiliency to continue to hold government accountable. Our commitment is matched at every tier of government, and I applaud Governor Andrew Cuomo for spearheading this legislation at the state level and Mayor Bill de Blasio for recognizing its importance here in New York City. I'm proud to stand here today with my partners in government who have met the challenge of our city's Sandy recovery with smart, common sense policies that make a real difference in the lives of New Yorkers. And we've seen a lot more traction and movement in these short couple of months than we've seen in the year before. With support from the federal, state, and city government, we can and will continue to work together to make sure that New Yorkers can rebuild stronger and more resilient than ever. Thank you very much. Excuse me, we're so well scripted, and sometimes, you know, it's not on my script. But I have the pleasure, as I said. It's a lighthearted day. Let's have fun. It's good news, so it's great. I'm really proud, as I mentioned, that I think in the short couple of months that under his leadership, we have seen an incredible commitment and priority being given to recovery and resiliency in this city, and I applaud the efforts of the next speaker, our Mayor Bill de Blasio. Thank you. Oh, sorry.
Well, it is a good news day for a lot of reasons, most especially for the thousands of people who will benefit, who have been waiting for this help. But it's a good news day because leaders across the spectrum are focused, doing their jobs, working together. I want to thank Speaker Melissa Mark Viverito, who's been a fantastic partner in all we do. We've had a lot thrown at us in just a few months, but we always find a way to get something done together, and that's all that the public can ask of people in government. So let's thank the Speaker for all she does for all of us. The members of the Council here today, thank you for what you are doing today. Vinny, thank you for your leadership. Debbie, Steve, Julissa, thank you everyone for so quickly acting on the interests of homeowners and people who have been suffering and who are literally going to be in a case of double jeopardy. You know, they finally fought their way back from every devastation, every dislocation they experienced, only to find that it was going to cost them something new. Because you guys got the ball rolling and you're finishing the job today, it's going to provide that relief they deserve. Jimmy Otto has been a partner in everything we're doing and has been, I've got to say, and I hope the residents of Staten Island know this, literally we do not have a conversation where he doesn't say we need to do more for folks who have been victims of Sandy. We need to take the next step. Here's another thing that needs to be done. You've been vigilant, you've been focused, and I think it's made a huge difference, and it's helped us to do our job better. I know from my script that I introduced the governor, so I'm going to say things about the governor at the point at which I introduce him. But I also want to note, I have very great pride in the members of my administration. First, I want to thank our new Parks Commissioner, Mitch Silver. Thank you for inviting us to your lovely park. Mitch also has the single best office in all of government in the Arsenal in Central Park. So try and get him to invite you to a meeting, because it's absolutely beautiful. And Amy Peterson, where are you, Amy? Amy Peterson, take a bow. Amy, Director of our Housing Recovery Office. Amy Peterson and Bill Goldstein and Dan Zerilli have been out at the front line. I'll tell you what I hear constantly from elected officials and community leaders. They appreciate that this new team that is working every day to help victims of Sandy and to work on resiliency is out in the communities constantly talking to people, listening, trying to understand what we can do better. And Amy, you've been really stellar in going out and helping people at the front, and we want to thank you for that. So I remember very, very vividly the days immediately after Sandy hit, and I spent some of that time with my colleagues here from Staten Island. And we talked to people who had lost everything. And that day it was very hard to imagine the road back. But I'll tell you one thing, none of us would have imagined so many of these delays and so many dreams deferred. And it has never been acceptable to ask people who have suffered so much to wait. And so when I came into office, I started working exactly with the same people I walked those streets before. And we said, we can do this differently, we can do this better. We all knew it could be better. Sometimes you say that in life, and it's a speculation. This time we knew there was a better way to help people. This is an example of it. Thousands of people are going to benefit because everyone put their heads together and figured out it wasn't right for them to be hit by an additional tax because they finally got back on their feet. And we weren't going to allow that kind of unfairness to happen. And by the way, not only is it an example of bipartisanship and everyone doing their job and doing it fast and effectively, now because everyone did that, because the council will finish the job today, we'll be able to reflect this change in the July property tax bill. So it's right on time, so it'll start to help people right now. The governor was focused from the beginning on getting this done and getting this done quickly. We knew that from every experience all of us have had with Albany, that even common sense things can sometimes get bogged down. But the governor said from the beginning, I remember the first conversation we had about it, he said, we're going to make this a priority and it's got to move. And we were in Albany together, it was just 27 days ago, Governor. 27 days ago, and you said, I hear you need it for the July property tax bills, we're going to make it happen. And that is an example of the way government is supposed to be. And so I want to juxtapose this progress with everything that went on for the first year plus after the storm, and I want this to be an example to people of the direction we're now going in. Because all the different parts of government are now on the same page that we have to do things differently. And everyone agrees that we can't ask the homeowners who have suffered so many people dislocated to keep waiting. So now, since January 1st, I'm proud to say that we have sent out 174 reimbursement checks to homeowners who've been waiting way too long, compared to 0 on January 1st, 174 have gone out now. Compared to 0 on January 1st, there's now 36 construction starts for homes that people will be able to live in soon. And hundreds of more homes are in the design process, and we are going to keep our commitment that there will be 500 construction starts. He's saluting us. Thank you. 500 construction starts by Labor Day and 500 checks reimbursement checks in the hands of people who have been waiting for a long, long time. That will show people that every level of government is working for them. So things are working, and every one of us is going to push each other to keep going farther. And now, reading appropriately from my script, I want to say that literally today's victory would not have been possible if it weren't for the governor making it a priority. And I've known the governor now almost 20 years. When he focuses, things happen. And he has been very clear that homeowners who've been waiting should not wait any longer, and he's been with us there every step of the way, and people are going to feel the benefit of his leadership is going to make a real positive difference in their lives, and that's what we all came here to do. It's my honor to introduce the Governor of the State of New York, Andrew Cuomo.
Well, good morning to all of you. All these different levels of government, all these officials. I want you to know it's the state of New York that was in charge of the weather for the day, and I'm proud to take credit for it. To Mayor de Blasio, who made some comments about the speaker, and they resonate with me because I've thought about it myself over these past few months. The mayor and the speaker have stepped into in very big shoes, taking over the running of the city of New York, which is unlike almost any job on this planet. And I remember when I stepped into my job, those first few months are really something, because it's like stepping into the fast pitch cage, and that ball just keeps coming. The issues just keep coming. And you have to get up to speed right away. And if you come in with a mandate for change, it's doubly hard, because you don't want to continue what was. You're there to do something that is different. You want to improve, you want to fix, you want to change. So it is a very, very hectic few months, and a very disorienting few months. And the mayor said the speaker has done yeoman's work through that, and I believe the mayor has done a really great job through that. And you see change and you see improvement. And let's give them a round of applause. And the speaker, we thank them very much. Borough President Otto, as always, it's a pleasure to be with you. Councilmember Ignizio, pleasure to be with you. Debbie Rose, pleasure to be with you. I think what was said about the Staten Island officials is true, that they really do function as a team. And we like to think that all officials figure out how to put the politics aside and function as a team. I can tell you it doesn't always happen. Believe it or not, it doesn't always happen. And in many ways, Staten Island is extraordinary for the way they're able to put the politics aside to come together for what's good for Staten Island. That's also true with the Albany delegation. Senator Lanza, Assemblyman Cusick, who couldn't be here today because they're in session, but they're a big part of making today a success. It's working together, and they should be applauded for that. Let's give them a round of applause. And when you come to Staten Island and you were talking about Sandy, as the mayor mentioned, it brings back those waves of memories of what happened here during Sandy. And in some ways, there's no area in the city that was where the damage was more obvious than Staten Island, where it was more palpable. 23 lives lost during Sandy. So you'll never forget the pain. You'll never forget the damage done, the trauma, literally, that people went through during Sandy. But I'll also never forget the way people came together. And New Yorkers are a funny breed. You know, we can be tough. We can be a little isolated. It's part of our DNA in this city, in this state. But when things are at their worst, New Yorkers are at their best. And nobody comes together like New Yorkers come together. And nobody believes in the spirit of community like New Yorkers. And in the midst of that, the worst of Hurricane Sandy, that's when you saw New Yorkers come together and Staten Islanders rally together, and one there for another, bringing food, bringing clothing, doing whatever they could do. And it really was, it was a beautiful thing to watch. It was painful to see the devastation. It was heartwarming to see the silver lining, which is how the people responded. So in many ways, I don't know that this city will ever be the same in the short term after Superstorm Sandy. I don't know that we should be, because in many ways, there were lessons to learn from Sandy. I think it would be foolhardy to believe that that's the last time that's going to happen. I've been governor 3.5 years, 9 federally declared disasters in 3.5 years. Higher frequency than ever before. Federally declared disaster every 4 or 5 months. It's never been heard of before. And I don't want to get into the politics, climate change, but the undeniable fact is there is a different weather pattern of extreme weather, and we would ignore it at our own peril. And if we're smart, we learn from it, and that's exactly what we are doing. And we're adjusting for it. We're making all sorts of preparations in terms of emergency management. We're going to form the first emergency management college in the nation in the state of New York. So we have the most prepared people. We're working on new protocols. So the state, the city, counties all work together. We're talking about where to build and how to build and revisiting basic assumptions. This park today is an example of a post-Sandy intelligence, looking at that waterfront, understanding that extreme weather will happen again, and then deciding what you site along the waterfront, and you put in uses that are resilient, that can take a flood when and if it happens again, and can also help absorb water. That was all in the design of this park. So the city and the Port Authority should be credited with that. And Debbie Rose, we want to thank her very much for her actions in making this park a reality. But more than anything, as you've heard, the lesson after Sandy is how do we help the people who were hurt? And the bill that I'll sign in just a moment is a smart idea. The mayor, when he first spoke to me about it, right away, I said this was a smart idea. It was overdue, and we'll get it done right away. I'd like to say 27 days to pass a bill is normal in Albany. It's not exactly normal, not even close to normal. But sometimes an idea is so smart and so right and so true that it defies any political objections. And that's what happened in Albany about this bill and this idea, because the mayor was right. To tax people on the changes to their home that they were forced to make because of a storm that was out of their control would literally add insult to injury. And that's not what this government is all about. People, we're here to help, not hinder. We want people to rebuild. The mayor's changes are making the reconstruction move even faster. So we want to make sure all our efforts are positive. And making sure that those changes are not subject to taxation is one of the ways that we can help. This is all about learning from what we went through, so we're better prepared for it next time. And we make sure that those who have suffered, we're doing everything we can to alleviate that burden. So it's my pleasure to ask you now to join me to sign the bill, and congratulations for all those who worked so hard on it.
Governor Landy is in our presence. Senator Landy is watching.
Okay, so he's got one. Yes, he's got one of the pens.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Great.
Well done. Congratulations.
Signing was successful. guys are off to do some.